Whoa. Imagine generating complex 3D scrolling animations with just a few lines of text and a screenshot.
Yeah, it really is
Yeah,
wild.
it feels almost like magic. 2-sec silence. Welcome to the deep dive. I am really glad you are joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Today, we are exploring something that fundamentally changes how we think about design.
It really does.
We are looking at a highly practical guide on creating motion graphics.
Right. But we are doing it using Claude design.
Exactly. And that requires a completely different mental model. I mean, you don't need heavy software anymore.
No, not at all.
You just need clear constraints.
Yeah, it completely flips the traditional workflow.
Yeah.
I am incredibly excited to map out today's journey for you.
Me too. We are going to unpack exactly how you command this AI.
Right, because you don't need a timeline editor anymore. You just need a few basic prerequisites.
Like what?
Well, you need a paid Claude plan, obviously.
Right.
You need a core idea. You want to gather some basic visual references. And finally, you need a screen recorder to save your final output.
So it is wildly accessible right now.
Completely.
We have a very clear narrative through line for you today. We will explore 3 practical, non-sequential methods for generating these animations.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to move from providing the AI with raw structural code.
Right.
Then we will look at using static image boundaries.
Yeah.
And finally, we will explore anchoring your graphics using audio timelines. Think about what that progression actually means.
This is a massive shift.
We are moving from the explicit logic of code into the subjective realm of pixels, and then wrestling with the dimension of time itself.
That is a beautiful way to frame it. The AI handles each of those inputs in fundamentally different ways.
And understanding how it processes those specific inputs is, well, it's the secret to getting professional results.
Exactly. So let's start with method 1.
The foundational approach.
Yeah, the foundation. We are talking about using templates.
Okay, templates.
If you are new to Claude design, templates are incredibly forgiving. They give the AI a rigid structural skeleton.
So you are not forcing the machine to invent the layout from scratch.
Right, and you don't have to explain the underlying physics either.
You know, it reminds me of stacking Lego blocks of data.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
You provide the pre-built architectural code. Then, Claude simply snaps your custom text and your specific brand colors onto the existing structural studs.
Right, and finding these structural templates is actually the easiest part.
Really?
Yeah, you just search the web for free motion graphics templates, or you can search for animation templates with code.
Okay.
You want to find something that moves the way your brain envisions the final product.
So you ignore the visual style?
Completely.
Yeah.
Ignore the placeholder text, ignore the generic colors, just focus entirely on the mechanics of the movement.
Got it. Once you find a motion you like, you copy that raw code.
Exactly.
You paste it directly into Claude Design's animation mode. But my instinct would be to just say, hey, make this look like my brand.
Yeah, and I am guessing you know that is a terrible prompt.
I assume it is a total disaster.
It is. That prompt is way too vague. You have to tell Claude exactly what to keep locked in place. Precision is everything here.
So what do you say?
You tell it to maintain the core layout. You strictly lock in the transition timing. If there's a 3D tilt on a graphic, you explicitly command the AI to preserve that exact mathematical tilt.
And then?
Then and only then do you tell it what to actually replace.
Right.
You insert your new headline titles, you provide your specific brand colors, you hand over your exact primary and secondary hex codes.
The source material highlights a really compelling framer template to illustrate this.
Oh yeah, the one with the static header.
Right. It features this large, bold headline that stays fixed at the top of the viewport.
Mm-hmm.
The navigation bar sits perfectly centered, beat. But here's where it gets really interesting. There is an image card near the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I remember this part.
As you scroll down the page, this static card starts to rotate. It changes its spatial position dynamically, mapping directly to your scroll depth.
That is a deeply complex interaction to build manually.
It is.
But because you are using a template, the raw code hands that underlying logic directly to Claude.
So the AI doesn't have to understand why the card rotates.
Exactly. It just has to preserve the math while building your beautiful layout around it.
Right. But of course, let's be real. The first draft is almost never flawless.
Never. The AI has a tendency to hallucinate.
Yeah.
It might grab a random placeholder image from the web instead of the portrait you uploaded, or it decides to be helpful and adds 3 extra text sections you never even asked for.
Which brings us to a crucial step, fixing those inevitable mistakes. 2-sec silence. I have to admit something here.
What is that?
I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, where I ask for one small change and the AI ruins the whole layout.
Oh, it is maddening.
It really is. Why is it so hard to just tweak one single thing?
Well, because human communication is inherently sloppy. We assume context that the machine simply doesn't have.
So how do we fix it?
The fix here requires extreme restraint on your part. You must never ask Claude to rebuild the whole page. Never. You have to isolate and point out the exact microscopic issues. For instance, you tell it to swap the placeholder image for your specific portrait file.
Okay.
You explicitly tell it to link the scale and position directly to the scroll progress. You command it to strip out the extra sections.
Got it.
And you end with a strict rule to leave everything else completely untouched.
You know, my instinct is always to just hit the regenerate button when a draft is slightly off. Why exactly shouldn't we just hit regenerate if the first draft is slightly off?
Think back to your Lego house analogy. Hitting regenerate doesn't just swap the red bricks for blue ones.
It doesn't.
No, it kicks the entire house over. Regenerating rolls the dice on the foundational code, destroying the nuanced timing and layouts that already perfectly match the original template.
So target the exact problem instead of rolling the dice on a full redesign.
That is the golden rule of prompt engineering. But that entire first method relies on having the source code.
Right. And in the real world, that is a luxury.
Usually we just see a cool animation on a website or a video on social media, and we want to recreate that vibe.
So when we don't have the underlying code, how does the AI interpret purely visual boundaries?
That brings us to visual reverse engineering.
Method 2.
Right, method 2 relies entirely on screenshots. This completely changes how you communicate with the AI.
Because you are no longer providing mathematical logic.
Exactly, you are establishing visual guardrails.
Visual guardrails, so you capture a screenshot of the starting frame.
Yep.
Then you grab the final frame.
You might include 1 or 2 middle frames, but you really only do that if there is a massive visual shift.
Like what?
Like a progress bar filling completely up, or a block of text being aggressively crossed out.
There is a very strict constraint here, though. The source material warns against uploading a ton of nearly identical screenshots.
Yeah.
If I have a smooth animation, why wouldn't I want to show the AI every single step of that movement?
It is a huge trap.
Yeah.
People think more data is always better, but uploading too many frames breaks the AI's attention mechanism.
How so?
If you feed Claude a flipbook of microscopic changes, the AI gets obsessed with the tiny pixel differences between frame 4 and frame 5.
Oh, I see.
It loses sight of the macro movement. It dilutes the importance of the actual start and end states.
Which makes sense when you think about how these models process images.
Yeah.
They don't actually see a video.
No, they do.
They calculate the mathematical delta between static arrays of pixels.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Screenshots only show the static design. They are completely frozen in time.
Right.
So the heavy lifting falls entirely on you. You must explicitly describe the invisible motion connecting those screenshots.
Because Claude cannot infer timing or physics from still images alone.
Exactly. You have to clearly define the keyframes for the model,
Which means
the absolute starting and ending points of an animation sequence.
that makes sense. Engineering process. The checklist one.
Yeah. Imagine you have a clean 5-item checklist on the screen. Initially, there are just orange circles sitting next to the text.
Okay.
Then the animation triggers. The orange circles dynamically turn into blue check marks. And simultaneously, the text gets a strike-through effect.
And your prompt for that has to be meticulously detailed. The screenshots give Claude the layout. You tell the AI to preserve the floral background from the image. You tell it to maintain the exact typography of the VEO title.
Wait, let's talk about the physics of that VEO card.
Oh, yeah. That is a great example.
It is floating above this complex floral background. The prompt instructs the AI to rotate the card smoothly around the y-axis. As this card flips horizontally, it reveals hidden details on the back, a specific number, a name, a date.
Right.
But the prompt also forces a critical timing constraint. You have to instruct the AI to hold that final frame.
That is so important.
It needs to remain completely static and visible for exactly 1.5 seconds before the loop resets. Yeah, if you skip that 1.5-second hold, the animation just spins wildly. It becomes totally unreadable for the viewer.
But again, just like with the code templates, your first screenshot attempt might yield a glitchy result.
Always. Maybe that progress bar jumps erratically instead of gliding steadily across the screen.
If the physics are wrong, telling Claude to just make it smoother seems like a total waste of a prompt.
It is. The AI doesn't have human intuition for what smooth means in a visual context.
Smooth is a subjective human feeling.
Exactly. You have to translate that feeling back into structural physics.
Yeah.
You isolate the specific element that is failing.
Like a flipping card.
Right. You instruct Claude to maintain the card's exact scale throughout the rotation. You tell it to lock the center position so it doesn't drift.
Okay.
You explicitly command it not to let the element jump outside the frame boundaries. You correct only that mechanical movement.
Can't the AI just guess the movement pathway between a before and after picture?
You would think so, but no. Without explicit instructions on rotation angles, sequential order, and easing, which is how an object accelerates and decelerates so movement feels natural, the AI usually panics.
It panics.
Yeah, it might just weirdly morph the pixels or break the elements apart rather than animating them correctly through 3D space. It needs structural logic to function.
You have to narrate the visual journey so the AI actually understands the physics?
Yes, you are the director, and the screenshots are just your storyboard.
Being the director of an AI requires a massive amount of mental organization. You are constantly juggling assets, hex codes, and prompt drafts. Beat it. Before we tackle the final method, a quick word. Sponsor, welcome back.
Let's get right back to the timeline.
Perfect timing. Because we have controlled graphics using structural code.
Right.
We have established visual boundaries using static images. Now we arrive at the most complex dimension. Method 3 is all about synchronizing these graphics with time and with a human voice.
This is where the output gets incredibly powerful.
It is tailor-made for talking head videos, educational tutorials, or corporate presentations.
Exactly. But because large language models don't possess a reliable internal clock, you have to provide one manually.
Which means using an SRT file.
Right. An SRT file is a text document containing precise time codes for every spoken sentence.
So you take your raw audio or video file, you run it through a transcription tool.
The source suggests using something like Gemini to handle this efficiently. Gemini processes the audio and spits out that SRT file.
When you drop that SRT file into the prompt, you are giving Claude a precise chronological anchor.
Exactly. It finally knows exactly when things are happening.
So you paste this timestamp transcript directly into your prompt.
But the guide highlights a very crucial instruction here, a massive trap you have to avoid.
What is that?
You must explicitly tell Claude not to put every single spoken word on the screen.
Oh, yeah. If you don't enforce that restriction, the AI will try to be completely literal.
It will.
The screen becomes a claustrophobic wall of text. It is visually overwhelming and entirely unreadable.
You have to instruct the AI to act like a strict editor. It should only pull out the absolute main ideas.
Using very short, punchy text.
Right. Pair with simple, abstract visuals and ensure those elements are synced perfectly to the timestamps provided in the SRT.
The visual direction required here is just as meticulous as the timing.
Oh, absolutely.
The example provided in the text creates such a clean, focused aesthetic. It asks for a warm, off-white background. It demands a very specific hex code, hashtag D97757, for the primary accent color, and it enforces a clean 16.9 aspect ratio so it looks cinematic.
It results in a beautiful minimalist presentation.
But obviously you want the final animation to match your own brand identity, not just a generic minimalist vibe.
Right, so this is where you start adding brand references into the prompt alongside the SRT file.
Like what kind of references?
You upload a core logo, maybe a crisp UI screenshot of your actual software, or you specify your exact brand fonts.
And you instruct Claude to match the overarching vibe of those uploads.
But there's a massive caveat here.
Okay, what is it?
You must strictly command the AI not to copy any random text found inside your reference images.
Right.
The only text allowed on screen must come directly from the SRT transcript.
Otherwise, Claude gets confused by its own vision capabilities.
Exactly. It might try to literally replicate a random submit button from your UI screenshot and paste it directly into the middle of your new animation.
Which completely ruins the narrative flow.
It does. The AI lacks the context to know that the submit button is just part of the reference aesthetic.
Wouldn't uploading my entire brand folder give the AI a better understanding of my style?
It is tempting, but no. A massive folder introduces conflicting design elements and random blocks of text.
It gets overwhelmed.
Yes. The AI's context window gets completely overloaded. It will mistakenly try to cram all of those contradictory styles into a single chaotic animation. It dilutes the visual focus completely.
Keep brand references minimal to avoid confusing the AI with irrelevant text or styles.
Less is absolutely more in this context. You want to give it just enough flavor to understand the aesthetic without giving it so much data that it chokes on the details.
2-sec silence. So as we step back and look at the progression of all three methods,
Yeah, let's recap.
from the strict logic of code to the visual boundaries of screenshots to the chronological anchors of transcripts, there is a really clear overarching philosophy threaded through this entire guide.
Yeah, what is that?
The ultimate quality of an AI-generated motion graphic depends entirely on the specificity of your constraints.
That is the core big idea. It all comes down to how well you establish boundaries.
Whether you are leaning on the rigid pre-built structure of a frame or template,
Right.
or you are setting visual guardrails with a before and after screenshot,
Mm-hmm.
or you are anchoring the AI in time with a meticulously time-stamped transcript.
The clear instructions are the foundation, but those specific, isolated follow-up tweaks, the restraint required to not just hit regenerate, that is the real secret here. That is how you successfully replace hours and hours of tedious manual keyframing.
You don't need to be a master of complex timeline editing software anymore.
No, you just need to be a highly articulate director.
You are directing the AI's attention mechanism. You are telling it exactly what matters in a scene, and more importantly, what it needs to ignore.
It requires a completely new mental model and a totally different skill set for modern designers.
It really does.
Bing.
Which brings me to a thought I haven't been able to shake since we started reading this guide. 2-sec silence. If AI can flawlessly reconstruct complex 3D motion from a single static screenshot or perfectly timed visuals to a spoken word, what happens to the concept of visual originality?
That is a profound question.
Right. When the mechanical execution of animation takes mere seconds, perhaps the true value of a designer shifts entirely away from the software, and it moves purely into the raw psychology of the idea itself. Something to think about.
It is a profound shift. The tools eventually disappear, and only the intent remains.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep wondering, keep exploring. Until next time, O Tira O Music.